Cheri Perry is with us. She is the owner of Total Merchants Concepts. She is a national expert on business management, employee relations, workplace culture, marketing, problem solving, purchasing, and event planning. Ms. Perry, I've had to deal with all that. I'm an expert on none. But as you see it, how do you handicap what the economy looks like and what you think we need to do to get to a better place?
Well, I love the fact that I got to listen to you for a bit before you brought me on, because I'm going to give you a good answer, which is I don't know. How's that?
That is the perfect answer, the most honest answer. Okay,
plays right into our show.
Render me a guess then. How about that?
Yes, let's go for a guess. So I think that right now, obviously, we're in uncharted territory, and it's very, very it's already complicated, as you mentioned, being a business owner in today's marketplace. My husband and I have owned our company for almost 25 years, and it does get harder and harder with more regulations, more stipulations down the road. Now you throw an unknown scenario at us like a pandemic, and I'll tell you what, business owners are good at keeping one foot in front of the other on a day-by-day basis and making it up as they go.
Ms. Perry, I've always believed that part of my job as a business owner is to create an attitude, to set the culture, to believe that we're all kind of in this thing together when we're facing challenges that we don't believe we created ourselves. In other words, if you make widgets and the widgets suck, that's your problem. If you're a hairdresser and you get bad haircuts for a week or two or three, consumers find other places to go. But if you believe that attitude and culture are essential and important, and you feel like a victim, help us understand how you think people need to balance that.
Well, right now we have to get out of the mindset that we're a victim, because the bottom line is it's a powerless position. And so even though stuff has been thrown at us that we don't know what to do, many companies have been shut down, outside of their control, and they're waiting on the edicts of different, governments across the country, different state governments, to determine when they'll be able to turn their businesses back on. None of that's fair. None of that's a level playing field. All of that is unknown. So the best way, in my opinion, and again, it's an opinion, is basically to control what you can control. And so you talked about culture and you talked about attitude in a company. A good, strong leader in today's unknown territory has to stand in front of their group and tell them, I don't know, just like you said. But here's what I do know. And I know what we do the best. I know that we have systems and processes and procedures that we can shore up and make better while we're waiting for the economy to come back to normal. I know that we can reach out to our clients and make sure that we're giving our way out of a crisis, because that's the only way to get out of a crisis, by the way, is giving out of it. And so you've got to just control the things you can control and make sure that you're supremely focused on your mission, even in a time where things are rather uncertain.
When we deal with economic disruption, I think we just got recent news that JCPenney's had declared bankruptcy. I think Sears did that a year or so ago. I grew up as a kid. I'm the last year of a baby boomer. I remember the Penney's catalog, the Sears catalog. It was must-read, publication in my home. And that's a weird way to introduce this question, but I think it's important. How much can business owners commit to their own arrogance and believe that because things have always worked this way and they've been successful working this way, it'll always be the case? In other words, I look at Sears and Penney's, great retailers of 100 years gone by. They kind of thumbed their nose at e-commerce and online shopping. They thought it was a fad. When you talk about attitude and culture, how willing must business owners be to accept things never stay the same?
Man, that's a great question. I'll tell you right now that if we as business owners commit to our arrogance, we will submit and fall in our endeavors to be a business owner. We've got to be flexible enough to figure out that we've got to make changes. Right now, we're seeing a massive shift in what's happening. My credit card processing company, for an example, is 24 years old. We're watching people figure out how to take payments in ways they've never taken them before. And so it's critically important, if you want to stay relevant in any economy, pandemic or not. You've got to be willing to look and see what's happening and what's changing and shift and adapt just like we do And that's what Americans are the best at. We're best at adapting. So it's a tough time that we have right now. But if we do what we do, which is adapt, change it up a little bit and make sure that we don't get run over by the hands of time, we're going to be all right.
Last question. Once again, appreciate your time and appreciate your opinions. The one thing business owners don't like to do is admit they're afraid. I mean, I don't. 2008 came along. It took a friend of mine who's a fellow business owner to admit to me he was afraid before I confided in him that I had a similar fear. Is it okay as a business owner to be afraid? And how do you compartmentalize or deal with that internal fear?
I believe that it is okay to be afraid. It's okay to admit that you don't have all the answers. It's okay to admit that the mountain coming at you looks rather large. What it's not okay to do is position yourself for any length of time in that position of being a victim. Something's happening to me. Things are being done against me. The best thing that a business owner can do is recognize the fear and then turn it around and figure out how to make sure that you're doing what you can do. And I'll just go right back to the very opening comment. You've got to control what you can control. And when your staff sees you and they see that vulnerability where you're not afraid to stand up and say, hey, guys, listen, I do not have all of the answers. And I'll tell you, this situation, this is a scary one. But here's what I do know. These are the things that our company is founded on. This is what we believe in as a company. We are Americans. We are designed to adapt. We're going to figure it out together. Now let's get all hands on deck and figure out how to do it.
Very well said. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Kind of an interesting take. So somebody who is, if you look at her bio, she's very involved in motivational training.